you know, Ellie Leonard, who runs
Hello.
the you are still with Panicked Unpaid Writer?
I'm now the panicked writer because I got some paid subs, so that's very exciting for me. So I was like, I better rebrand because otherwise it's kind of like shady if I just keep it there. So
The Panic so you're just a Panicked Writer
yeah, I'm
now.
the panicked writer now.
And you are doing Epstein stuff full time now, right? You are diving into these files.
Yeah. And it's like I kind of like analyze it. I probably overanalyze everything more than necessary, but I'm like, I don't, a lot of times when there's a really big case that's in the news, like you think like Gabby Petito or you think, Oklahoma City bombing or just whatever. You have people who really get into it, but they're like happily obsessed with it. Like it's very exciting for them. I don't know that that's me. I don't know that that's me. I think I look forward to there being an end to this because I think it's
Yeah.
very, it's so dark and it's just so like, I think I mean, beyond like if you can objectively step out of like what it is and how awful it is, like just how disappointing and upsetting it is that our system's so broken that there's no consequences for anybody with money. Like that's more the thing I think that I focus in on that I hope really, really changes. And I'm hoping the midterms help with that is just that like we just ream them. These rich guys that are just walking around, knowing everything they've done and moving on with their lives. Like I hope it hurts for them, That's what I hope happens from this.
I do too. It's interesting you say that because I mean, I'm a trained historian. I've got a
Uh,
master's in history. I know how to do research, and people are like, "Hey, are you gonna do any research in the Epstein files?" I'm like, "No." Like, I can't. It's one of those things
right.
that I'm just like, it would be, it would just be too much, you
Yeah,
know?
and I think it's good to stay informed, but I think you gotta be able to step out of it. Like it can't
Yeah.
become everything because it's gonna be a while till it's over, and it cannot be your day to day everything that you think or talk about.
Mhm.
Because it is not okay. It is
No,
not healthy. Um,
no.
yeah.
It, and it's interesting you bring it up because like one of the things that I've pivoted to is writing more about culture.
Mhm.
And a lot of that has been in response to the Epstein files, and even with they're now like I'm seeing the term the Epstein class, right? And that's the people in Trump's cabinet, which like they've
Yep.
identified now as of now, it's
Yep.
like 37 in
Yep.
the cabinet that
Mhm.
are in the Epstein files, and then also the 100 plus billionaires and like rich people that are backing Trump that are
Every
right.
every global finance department across the entire world.
Yeah, I mean it's one of these things where you look. I used to hear about like these conspiracy theories
Mhm.
that were this big, and you're like, that can't be real. Like that's not, But then you look at this and you go, oh, this one might be that real, and
Right.
it seems to like to me, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It seems to be penetrating deeper than say like the Panama Papers did, because the Panama
Mm.
Papers came out and it's like, wow, here's all this global finance that's in bed with criminal elements.
Right.
But that was more of just the finance part, and then this is the sex trafficking,
As
all the
yeah.
whole, yeah. And so, and I also think it's when the Panama Papers dropped, we weren't. This is pre-pandemic. This is before all the economic hardship and all these things that are happening.
Mhm.
Like, what do you think that this is penetrating more in, and like what are you kind of seeing that from when you started this? What's the effect, sort of the mood of the public? Like, how has it shifted or starting to shift?
I think that there's a couple of things. I think and I was just talking about this with somebody else, but like the idea of how hard it is in human nature when you've really been a soldier for something for a certain period of time to realize that you were wrong, like how hard that is on the human psyche. And I think pride is a really, really, really big part of people turning away when we go like, oh, it doesn't make sense that you would follow somebody that there's clearly endless evidence that they have done horrible things to people.
Mm.
There's 34 felonies that have been gone to the nth degree. Like, what? why do you keep supporting this person? We wouldn't do that for anybody else. But it's that pride. It's like I thought he was a good guy for so long and I soldiered for him so long that it's so hard for people to be like, I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people are really worried about, the FAFO stuff. And I try, and I can only speak for myself, but I try to be very gentle with people who are like, I was wrong. I see the light
Mhm.
now and I figured it out because like I would hope that somebody would do that for me. If I was totally sucked into something that I believed to the nth degree and then it turned out to be wrong and I realized it was hurting people and I had to flip, like I would hope that people on the other side would be like, I'm really glad you're here. I'm glad we're doing this. Like instead of just being like, ha ha, screw you. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't help
Yeah.
anybody. And it's tough because they did a lot of bad stuff and they've supported a lot of really, really bad and harmful policies for different groups of people. But I always hope, I'm always very hopeful that people can change and stop being racist and stop being closed-minded and stop being stupid and like stop voting for someone who's harming their own family.
Right.
Like if it's a lot, it's a huge lesson in psychology that there are going to be a lot of books about someday is how you can convince an entire nation of people to vote for someone or side with someone who is daily harming their way of life. Like how did we convince you of that? So I think that's tough. And I also think that yeah, there's just a lot of like blindness. Like brainwashing is a really scary thing. This
Mhm.
is a collection of people that for years have talked to us about cabals of child abuse and child trafficking. And so here we are, yeah, I guess calling their bluff, going, well, great, here it is. Here's the actual
Mhm.
case. And guess what? It was 1,000 times bigger than any of us ever expected.
Mhm.
Here are the names of the people involved. Here's the documentation of the things that they have done. Here's the court cases. Here's the money trail. Here's the felonies that have been charged with and convicted of. Here's everything. It's 3.5 million pages. Here you go. And then they can look at that and be like, yeah, but how are we supposed to believe that? Right.
Right. Right.
And that's scary. That's scary that there is no form of evidence or fact or truth where people can look at it and go, I see that that's truth. Okay. That makes
Mhm.
sense. They can always convince themselves otherwise. I had somebody hand me a flight log, quote unquote, that was filled with people who have never been on one of Epstein's planes. And I always tell this person, anything that you get that is quote unquote from the Epstein files, if you look at it and it all appears to be politically one-sided, whatever that side is, toss it out and keep looking because this is very politically bipartisan. So if you get a
Yeah.
flight log that is filled with like Stephen Colbert and Madonna and J-Lo and, Tom Hanks and like, Bill Clinton, like a bunch of people who are just on one side. Sure, maybe
Yeah.
some of them are in the actual flight logs, but that's not a flight log. Like that's not a piece of evidence. Like I have the flight logs. I handed them to this person. I said, well, here's the actual FAA flight logs from the 90s.
Mhm.
And you will see that none of these people are in the flight logs. And they go, well, how do we know that your flight log is true? And I said, well, mine's from the FAA from the 90s. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to convince you of that. Like, and then also like, this person will tell me like, don't keep going after Trump. Don't keep going after Trump. And I said, okay, I'll go after everybody. But on the flip side of that, don't keep not going after Trump, right? Don't
Right.
keep turning away from Trump. Like, pay attention. If you get a bunch of information and his name's nowhere on it, you have to understand that his name's on it. His name exists everywhere. His name
Yeah.
exists in the flight logs. He's admitted to being in the flight log. So if it's not there, then that's not a real flight log. Like there's clear ways to do our homework and double check and see that these things have nothing to do with politics. They have to do with money. Like that is the divide. It's not politics. It is the ultra wealthy and the rest of us. That is the political divide. Like when we talked about the 1% this whole time that was controlling everything, guess what? That's the Epstein's list, right? That's it
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And it is I mean, it's for better or for worse, I've stopped being disappointed when people show up on that list because I'm like, of course they did. Like, of course they are. They have $100 million. They have $200 million. Like, nobody gets $200 million ethically, right? And sits on it and has 5 houses and 12 yachts. Like, you don't have that kind of money ethically. You have to be a certain kind of person to have that kind of money and sit on it. So, of course, they're in those files. Of course, they made bad choices. Of course, they did horrible things. Like, that should surprise no one. Bill
Right.
Gates should surprise no one, right? That shouldn't surprise anyone. It's disappointing, but
Yeah.
goddamn, his wife is a fireball. Like read through those emails. I read through the emails, and there were so many complaints from world leaders about how much they hated Melinda Gates because she wouldn't let Bill come play because she hated Epstein and she saw him for what he was. And they just all hated her and they complained about her and they wrote about her and they called her a bitch and they said horrible things about her. And she was just like, I'm not doing this. And she was the one of the only ones who said that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a really good point. Is the thing that we're combating is almost a religiosity, right?
Mhm.
I wrote a
Oh,
piece
yeah.
yesterday. Yeah, I wrote a piece yesterday about the next step is going to be the deification of Trump, which they're
Oh,
already trying,
yeah. How many
right?
golden statues do we need for people to be like, I feel like that's familiar. Where did we talk about that before? Golden statues. That sounds
Right.
familiar. Whatever.
Something about a golden calf and like
Ah,
idolatry and I don't know.
yeah.
And but it struck me because I was thinking about Christopher Hitchens and when he would do these debates between like he was the atheist and he would debate religious scholars and he would always reference North Korea where it's a necrology, which is the great grandfather of the current ruler or the grandfather is still the head of the government
Hmm.
technically, right? It's just the current person in power is the head of the party,
Yeah.
and so I like people say, oh well, after Trump, like a lot of this kind of like hopeful thinking is, well, after Trump dies, MAGA's done. It's like, no, they're just gonna
Hmm.
deify him like a Roman emperor and then carry on, right?
Yeah.
And it's because and you kind of see this in the memes of he's a strong man, he's this like a a guy who's
his
never lifted weights in his life.
his ball cards where he's just like,
Right.
that's
He's like
the thing that I
he's
tell people because they'll send me pictures and they go, oh, look at Trump's and the Epstein files. Look, here he is with Epstein. I'm like, dude, that guy's got abs. That is AI. That is not Trump.
that's
That
not
is a
Trump.
dead giveaway. He's got abs.
Right. And it's like, it's and again, it is this and the thing that the Epstein class is asking us to accept is, part of, like I had a professor when I was in religious studies and
Hmm.
ancient history, and he said it's easier to change the name of the god on the temple than it is the practice. And that's what we're kind of combating
Hmm.
in Matt, right? That's why you said it's so hard for someone to come back to.
Yeah.
That's why we have Christmas in the Christian church was because you had Saturnalia and the early Christian fathers, in the church were like, we can't get these pagans or recent converts to stop Saturnalia. Let's just make it
Let's
Christmas.
just rename it.
Yeah, and
Rebrand.
that's what they did. They rebranded it. That's why they have saints because it's like, man, we can't get them to stop worshiping their local deities. So let's give them saints,
Yeah.
you know. And so yeah, and people thought I was nuts when I it was like, you could see Saint Epstein because they're already trying to do it. They say, well,
Gross.
he liked them young, but he wasn't a sex trafficker. No.
No, and
It's like,
pedophiles are technically a certain age. It's not up to seven. Like, have you seen that? There's like TED Talks on it now. It's like pedophilia is not really pedophilia. I'm like, oh yeah, and murder is just a quirky trait that people have when they go out. Like, what are we even doing? Like,
well, it's
he,
it's not murder
uh,
if you kind of are sad when you're doing it because
yeah.
then it's like,
Well, it's like
oh, okay.
all these people have kids. Like, all these people have kids. Somebody said in and I won't name them, but like somebody said in a live recently that their daughter, and people will recognize the story, but I'm still not going to name them, but like their daughter was hit on by Trump when she was 14 years old. And he was like, oh, look at those legs. We love them so pretty. And he was like, dude, that's my daughter. But that was it. Didn't say anything else. And then they were talking about like how girls in New York City just grow up fast. Like they go to clubs when they're 14. Older men hit on them. It's no big deal. And I was just like, no, it is a big deal. Like, my 14-year-old kid's not getting hit on by older men in a club. That's a big deal. Like, rip them out, burn it down. Like, I don't understand the, like, it's fine, it's normal, like, it's just the way people are. They're just pedophiles. Like, it's not a big deal.
It's well, and that's part of this. It is trying to get us to accept something that is abhorrent, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
It's because it's trying to save this Epstein class that has gone further and further and further with unobstructed
Yeah.
capitalism. Like I'm like I'm sure you've heard the entitlement with this, but I was the Corey Louis the piece about the Coast Guard pilot with Corey Lewandowski.
Tell me.
Like, so they wrote a piece on it. So apparently, like this is leaking. So you know that Kristi Noem's on the chopping block
Mhm.
because this is all starting to come out now. So apparently, she was with her beau, on a Coast Guard helicopter, and they had to change flight, um, change aircraft, right?
Right.
And she had left her blanket on the other aircraft. And so Corey Lewandowski's freaking out because apparently the pilots didn't know to come get her blanket and bring it on this aircraft. So he's screaming and having a fit. And so much so, the head pilot had to get up out of the cockpit and come back and settle him down, right? And he said, "Look, we're not going back to get this blanket. We're heading on to this destination. We're in mid-flight."
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, you're fired." And he says, "Okay, that's fine. But if you're going to fire me, I'm going to have to land the aircraft immediately and take time to get another pilot and change over and do all that. So what do you want to do?" "Well, I guess you're not fired." But then he fired
These
him later,
people are so
right?
nice.
Right. And it's this you- inevitably you'll see people making excuse for that, just like they would as like, well, girls in New York grow up fast. Instead of saying, but they shouldn't have to grow up fast.
Yeah, they're
And
not
because
growing
you
up
shouldn't
fast.
hit up
People around them are telling them to grow up fast.
right. You have to grow up fast because it's out there and guys are scum and blah blah blah. And
Mm.
it's like, no. It's the same argument of like, well, if you leave your car unlocked, it's like and you get something stolen, that's your fault. It's like, no, people shouldn't steal your stuff.
Your skirt's too
Right?
short and you get raped. What were you wearing? What were you doing?
Right. It
Yeah.
no, is it smart to leave your car unlocked? Not really, but you still don't deserve to get something
Yeah.
stolen.
Yeah.
Just like young women, if they have to grow up fast in a big city, don't deserve to be sexually harassed or,
Yeah.
approached by predators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
It's
don't
and
and also like validating it by a parent. You know what I mean? Like a parent validating it about your own child it's icky. It's icky.
it
I
is.
would
Oh,
yeah.
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But it puts the onus on the victim, on someone who's being
Yes. Which
exploited.
happens all the
All the
time.
time. Right.
All the
Well,
time.
what was she doing? What did she like? I don't know, man. She's 14. You
Yeah.
know,
Who cares?
he's 40.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. You know
who's
what?
the adult in this
That
situation?
idea of putting the onus never stops. Like no
No.
matter if they're kids and the boy is being mean and they say, that's what he does when he likes you, or you sexually assaulted and you were in the wrong part of town or wearing the wrong thing, or like down to like the survivors of the Epstein files. People are
Yeah.
asking them to release the files. They're asking them to release the list. They're asking them to out everybody. They're asking them to solve their own case. And it's like they don't need to. They do not
No.
have to. Like they should be able to sit down. And there should be a government and a law enforcement who is like ready to take up arms and do it for them. But we're still
Right.
asking them to do the work when
Right.
it's them who was abused. Like, when
Right.
are these men going to have to do the work?
There it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think that's the thing that I find myself struggling with because the hard reality of this is that the system has failed on so many levels. And I mean systems, right? The government that failed to protect them, the FBI that failed to follow up anything, people with power were shielded. I think it might have been you that posted this, but you have this feeling that it's like Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, where everybody's wearing masks and
Oh
there's
no, it
secret
was Kate. It
codes.
was Kate Justice. She wrote a really great
Yeah,
article on it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You think that there you go. It's Kate Justice,
Yeah.
and she wrote that you think they're all talking in code and it's all this like secrets, and it's like no, it's literally just out there because
Yeah.
because no one
They
was
didn't.
stopping them. They're
Well,
not
and
going
they
to get
didn't think it
caught.
was bad. They didn't think it was bad. Like you read these emails and like Woody Allen is at every dinner at Epstein's house apparently every night, and so every time he invites someone over, he's like, "Oh yeah, Woody's here having dinner. Do you want to come have dinner with Woody?" And then he's like, "Ha ha, pedo party." Like they just thought it was a joke. They didn't think it was bad. Like as long as he was still making money and as long as he was still popular within his own circles, he didn't really care what
Mhm.
his reputation was. Like he would try to fix it in the newspaper here and there if it sort of built back up again. But like among the people that he knew who gave him money and power, they didn't care. No one cared.
No. And again, why it's so damaging now is because people actually care and they're like, "Oh, I guess we have to cover this up now."
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and so
not getting caught. That's all they care about. They don't care
yeah,
about, like, the thing that they did. No.
no, because to your point, it's not a question between right and wrong for these people, right?
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, that's just how it is," you
Right.
know? Like young children, 14-year-old girls are just another thing that I'm entitled to
Right.
as a rich man, like, it's just something I get.
It's
Yeah, like,
property.
what was
Virginia
it? Yeah, for Prince Andrew and Virginia Guffrey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she called him, "I'm a bowl of fruit," you know? And and yeah, it's just I mean, it's so basic, but, like, it's so hypocritical that these people are going home and kissing their kids and, like, putting them in bed at night and then leaving the house to abuse somebody else's kids, you know?
Mhm.
And just because a girl maybe doesn't look like she's 14, because I think that was a thing, doesn't mean that she isn't. And they knew, they asked.
Of course.
And and then there was the flip side of that where they wanted girls to be really thin, really young looking, really blonde. There was like a style, because they wanted them to seem like little girls and not 17-year-old, almost 18-year-old girls. They didn't want that. They wanted them to be this very waifish, young,
Yeah,
always blonde. I we decoded a journal. We were working on this decoding of a journal, and there's a lot more of the like giving birth end of things that I thought actually existed, which was very shocking to me. Like,
oof.
there was some truth to that. That there were girls getting pregnant, and then their kids were getting taken away from them, by whoever. But this idea that this girl's writing in her journal in the 90s, and she's like, he has these like weird Nazi tendencies where he wants all blue-eyed blonde kids, and he just wants to put more and more and more of them into the world. And she's like, he's talked about that, and just like the irony of him as a Jewish man wanting that sort of like super race, is very, very. It's again, it's like some of the conspiracy stuff that I thought was totally conspiracy, and it's like, nope, there it is on paper from the 90s, like devastating stuff. And then there's like the complicit class of men who are around all this. I keep bringing it up, but like we hear about Michael Wolff, and I know he has a ton of interviews that he's not doing anything with. But his relationship with Epstein goes back to like the late 90s. He's flying with Epstein on his plane to go to a TED Talk, and he goes, "Huh, this is weird. He's really surrounded by teenage girls." Like, but he didn't say anything at that time. He didn't call anybody. He didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like there were so many men in his circle who were just like, "Huh, that's weird," or "Huh, that's just a thing he likes. I know he always has someone with him." I've talked with students from Harvard, who saw him, come into their departments because he funded the college. He had an office almost until the day he died at Harvard. And they're like, he was always surrounded by very, very, very young blonde women at all times. And like everybody's fine with it. No one's saying anything. So it's like there's this group of complicit men. I think it's a smaller group than the men who actually were participating, honestly, because I think it was a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Um, but there are groups of men who very much knew what was going on and didn't say anything. And I think that's you're completely as culpable if you know that abuse is happening and you say nothing.
Oh, I think so too. I think that's why there's a lot of fear with that of this coming out because, "Hey, what's going on? Left Partis in the
Hi,
house."
Lev Parnas.
I gotta give a shout out to Lev real quick. I really respect the stance he's been taking,
Yeah,
where
he's
he's
doing a good
drawn that
job.
line. Yeah, where he's
He's doing
drawn
good
that
things.
line, and that line in the sand where he's just like, "No, I'm calling this out. I'm not having this,"
It's very helpful. I mean, the man knows everything. Like, it's what this is what Michael Cohen should be doing. Like, he could do the same thing. Like, when you have people who used to work for the Trump administration who were there and saw everything and knew everything, and then they go, "Huh, that was bad. I'm gonna talk about it." Like, Lev is a wealth of information, and he's doing good things because he has all this information. Like, Michael Cohen has a ton of information that he could be doing some really, really good things, and I think there's the struggle of, what team do I play for?
Yeah.
How is this gonna protect me or protect my family? How is this gonna benefit me? And I think, yeah, I think, and again, back to that idea of like being a soldier for something for a long
Mhm.
time, and how much pride we have and how hard it is to switch that off. There's a lot, yeah, Miles Taylor too. There's a ton of people on Substack who used to work for the Trump administration who have now, seen the light, doing great things. But it's also really helpful that they knew what went on the inside, and so they, can be objectively helpful in this process and not just like, I think this is going on. Like, they know what's going on. They heard the conversations. So it's really great. It's great to see this team of people working together.
Oh, yeah. Olivia Troy is another one.
Yep.
And I think and again, why why you give that shout out to these people, because to your point, there were a lot of these people around Epstein and they looked the other way, right? They
Right.
saw this happening and, they said, "Well, that's odd, but I'm not gonna say anything
I'm
about
gonna
it."
stay out of it.
Right, it's not my business, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make a stink because I could lose something. And I think that's the thing that most people forget is, like, when you stand on business and when you stand on principle, most of the time, you are going to lose things. Like, you may lose friends, you may lose opportunities, you may lose all kinds of stuff. I mean, look at Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
He lost an NFL career by
Yep.
taking a knee.
Yep.
And that you can point to multiple examples. And so and people make mistakes. They get in with the wrong folks or they,
Hmm.
they carry
Yeah.
water for the wrong
Yeah.
thing.
And
You know.
I think for people who've been to prison for Donald Trump, I think there's probably a lot of fear about going back to prison. That's probably a legitimate fear. Um, but I think most of these people who stayed and knew, but they stayed anyway, it's all about their Rolodex, Like, everybody
Yeah.
was like collecting this black book of people, and that
Mhm.
was a reflection of their importance, was who was in their black book or who was in their phone. And you didn't want to break that, because if you were cut from one, you were cut from all of them. And I don't think anybody
Mhm.
had the balls to do that. Like, everybody was just like, I don't want to not be popular. It's what we're seeing with Donald Trump. I don't want to not be popular, so I'm going to be everywhere and see everything and participate in everything, because I want everybody to like me, right? That power of
Right.
like, I need you to like me, so I'm going to either do bad things with you or say nothing when I see the bad things, because I
Right.
want to come to dinner next week too. And I think many of us are wired differently than that, and I think it's because we're not in that class of people. But like, I just think I just can't imagine doing that. I would lose my shit. Like, I would, like, I even thinking about if Donald Trump was next to me and I worked for Donald Trump and he said something about my daughter's legs, I would lose my shit. I would lose my shit. I would not work for him. I would quit. You know what I mean? Like, I would report, like, and I feel like that's common sense, that I can't be on a side by myself, but like, you see this now probably upwards of 100 men who didn't do that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, because it is going to cost you something. When I was in aviation, there was a station I worked at. Station manager, she we had a vendor, right? That was
Mhm.
a partner of ours, and they didn't start out doing well, but they corrected it and they were making strides and things were
Yeah.
getting better. But she wanted another vendor to come in, right? And so basically, she got our managers together, which was us, and said, "Hey, you're gonna like people from corporate are coming in. You're gonna lie to them, and you're basically gonna say, or she didn't say lie, but she's like, you're gonna tell them this, this, and this, and this, and this." And I said, "Yeah, but that's not true. Here's where this has been going." And she said, "Well, I want you to say this." I said, "Well, I'm gonna say this.
Aha.
So if I get put in that room,
Yeah.
this is what I'm gonna say, right?" And
Right.
so, and she says, "Well, no, you're going to say this." I said, "I'm telling you now, if I get put in this room, this is what I'm going to
Right.
say." And so I got put in that room, and my account was different from the other managers, and corporate asked why.
Right.
So, long story short, because of that, I ended up having to go take another job. And when I left and put in my notice, I was escorted out of my station by
That's fun.
by the by the police, right?
Oh.
She
Well,
called the police on me and said, "I think he's gonna steal something, you know, like, you need to escort him out." And I
oh,
got
that's
and
fun.
then she tried to blackball me.
Yeah.
But that my point with all that is you are going to suffer consequences when you stand on business because there's somebody wants something to gain, somebody wants to keep doing what they're doing, and they
Mhm.
need you to go along with it. And when you say,
Yeah,
"I'm not going along with it,"
that's work for
then
them.
right, they're gonna lash out and they're gonna
Right.
freaking they're gonna blackball you.
Yeah.
They're going to like cut you out of the circle. Oh, he can't be trusted. He
Yeah.
can't be trusted because he's not a duplicitous person like us.
I used to work in a car dealership once upon a time in Tennessee, and, they wanted me to speak with an accent. They wanted me to not use big words. I said I was appalled. One time I said I was
Oh,
appalled, and they pulled me into a back office, and they said, "You cannot talk like that because people are gonna think you're uppity, and they're not gonna buy cars from us." And I was like, "I didn't know I was saying a big word. I just said a word." But they told me that they hired me to sell cars to little old ladies because I looked young and I was more trustworthy and it would sell more cars. And they would tell me the things that I had to say and I was like, I'm not comfortable saying that. That is not true. And they go, well, maybe this isn't the job for you. And I said, you think? It's a car dealership. It's not the job for anyone. I hate it here.
it's not.
But I'm
Did
not.
you tell them that you're appalled? That you were,
They're like, "I don't know what you're saying." No, but it's like, I'm on commission, you're not even paying me, like, you're not gonna fire me, but I'm not gonna say that, I'm just not gonna say that, and then they would want me to be the person who had to go repo cars for people who didn't, like, pay their I'm like,
you?
I'm 5'3", I was, like,
They wanted
21
you to
years old, and
repo cars?
I'm like, "I'm not repoing cars, like, that's
Where
stupid."
were you in Tennessee? And I'll tell you what, that's
Antioch,
a bad.
Antioch, outside of Nashville. Yeah, it's not the best neighborhood, I stepped over hypodermic needles on the way to work, it was
I'm a repo guy,
yeah.
okay? Like,
Yeah, no.
I'm the repo guy, not you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
especially in Tennessee,
I did
like,
not work there very long. It was a had to job, but, like, yeah, no, it was not my life's work to
no.
work in a car dealership, it was awful. I
They
think the
asked you
guy
to
that ran it I think the guy that ran it eventually, like, he went to prison for, like, money laundering or something,
of
like,
course he did.
yeah, it was fun.
Uh, of course he did. Oh, you worked in Tennessee in a car dealership. That's
Yes,
funny.
I did. Yes, I did.
You know you know what I would have told you if you used the word appalled in Tennessee? I would said, "You can't use that because they're gonna think you're talking about a pack of Pall Malls, and they're gonna
Yes.
get confused. They're gonna think you asked them for you were trying to bum a smoke
Yeah.
off on 'em."
Yeah, the
You
only
know?
thing that I got out of that job was I got to watch the entire series of Lost on my work computer. And then I would give it you could split a car sale, like, and so I'd just be like, "Okay, I'm splitting all of them because 'cause I'm not getting paid," and so I would just watch TV all day and then go home and eat, like, food that never goes bad. Can we talk about how vegetables don't go bad in Tennessee because they're all, like, radiated? I was and you have to slice your own bologna. Bologna doesn't come pre-sliced, like, it's like a loaf. It was a wild time. I didn't last very long there. We went back to Seattle.
Man, I see, you got the culinary delight with the unsliced bologna.
It
Did you
was so
fry it?
good. I don't remember, I don't know.
You got
It's a long
you
time
gotta
ago.
fry it. You
I
see,
know,
here's the
I
thing.
heard.
Here's the thing what you do is you fry it,
We're back to food.
right? Yeah, you fry it and you put a sliced mater on it with some salt on some white bread.
Yeah.
Mm,
I So
that's good
here's the
stuff.
thing, like, coming from Seattle and moving to the South, there are aspects of racism that you know exist, but you just didn't see, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And we moved there and you make friends with people, like, good friends with people, and they're like, "But by the way, I'm super racist on the side," like, out of the blue.
Mhm,
And racist against groups of people that I didn't know people were racist about, like Irish
mhm.
people,
Yep.
like every Asian country. every Hispanic country, and lots of like, no, I have no problem with these people, but I have bars on my window because they moved next door. Like a lot of like this weird stuff. And then we watched some news. There was something on the news about a guy who'd stolen a car, and he was an African American guy, and they had somehow like clip arted his head to bounce along the bottom of the screen while they were talking about him. And my husband, like, his jaw dropped. He's like, "What did we just watch?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think we need to go back to Seattle." Like, it was wild. And it's good to see that that exists so that you can like pay better attention to it. Because when you grow up in a predominantly like white West Coast area, again, you're completely ignorant that that level of racism still exists in America. It was
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, it's not everybody from there, but it's a
right. No,
significant
of course
chunk.
not. Of
And
course
and
not.
again, it's tolerated, right? Like
Mhm.
because in the South, it's all about like, you talk behind somebody's back, but you don't say anything to their face, right?
Right.
You know, like unless you're like redneck or you're a heathen like I was, where I just quit giving a damn, and I would just say it to their face. But that's why I was the oddball, right? Like that's
Right.
why I was the pain in the ass because it's like I'd call people out on their BS, and then
Mhm.
you get the stammer and everything else. But like, yeah, no, I mean, the racism there, it's they're not going to be racist to somebody else outside of their ethnicity, their face. But where
Right.
they're going to run into roadblocks is if you're trying to go for a job or you're trying to get a
Right.
promotion, you're trying like it's systemic, right?
Yes. Right. No, it's
It's
all
like,
white
oh,
people at my job. All white people.
right, yeah, you're not
Yeah.
hiring, like,
Yep.
and it's that redlining and that separation
Mhm.
absolutely still exists, and that's Tennessee. You didn't get into Mississippi
No,
or
no. And I mean,
Alabama.
I have, but like, no, it was, yeah. And I know that you have very like, you have like Nashville, and you have like Franklin, and you have like these very foofy, uppity places. We have a lot of family down there, um, but between that and and the weather, we we lived there through May and the tornado seasons. I was like, no, not it. I am not a tornado person. I need to go back to like the rain and the calm and yeah. But I've seen the
I knew
light.
you. That's funny. I never knew you lived in Tennessee. That's
It was
hilarious.
6 months. We lasted 6 months. My husband was supposed to go down there for, like, a job at William Morris, and so we moved. It was right after we got married. We moved down there. He was trying to be, like, a music agent or something like that, and my cousin worked for them. He got down there, and they're like, "Yeah, just kidding. There's no job." And we're like, "We just moved here." Like, we picked up everything and moved. So we had to, like, work in car dealerships and, by the skin of our teeth, and then eventually we went back to Seattle and did our thing there. Yeah.
Wow. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but that sounds
Life.
about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you there's a job, but I didn't think you'd actually take it, you
Yeah,
know?
right?
So
Yep,
I was just
Brentwood.
saying, it's like, my goodness. Yeah, like I lived in East Tennessee for almost over 20 years, so I lived there for a long, long time.
My grandpa was, from Knoxville, so he was one of these barefoot Tennessee boys in the '30s, and
Wow.
his house is now under the university. Was it the University of Tennessee or Tennessee State? Whatever one is in Knoxville, but his house is
UT.
now yeah, is now
Yeah.
underneath the college campus.
Yeah, my dad wanted to move there because he was from Macon, Mississippi, where it's all flat, and when he was a
Mhm.
younger man, before he joined the weather service, he worked on I-40,
Okay.
in East Tennessee, so he said, "Oh, shoot, I love these mountains, I'm gonna move here." And he got there and it was just like he ran into Appalachian culture and he went, "Oh, dear God," you know?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then that's why, it's funny, like, JD Vance says, "Oh, he's Appalachian." It's like, other than the racism, brother, you ain't Appalachian, you
Yeah.
know?
No, it's a culture. It's very cool. It's very, like, literary. I love reading about Appalachian culture and, like,
Oh, yeah.
I really love, like, in the moving east, I love, Donald Ray Pollock and all his stories out of, like, West Virginia and, all I find that so delicious and, like, campfire story time, and I find it really it's probably my favorite style of reading, but it is interesting to, like, step into it and see what it looks like firsthand, and you're just like, "I did not know this existed. I was so ignorant to this part of the world. I just didn't know."
I the thing that breaks my heart about Appalachia and East Tennessee is you've got folks that keep buying the bigotry and the rhetoric and all this
Yes.
other stuff because they think it's the slave mentality that style of Christianity kind of pushes into you,
Mhm.
where you don't think your life can be any better,
Yeah.
right? And so you get to this place where because you're miserable, you want to make other people miserable, whether that's women trying to get ahead or people, anybody, right?
Right.
You become like a crab in a bucket where you're constantly trying to pull people down. And anybody that has that's why they have a brain drain. That's why anybody that's got any, any kind of education and like they don't stay, they're like, oh, I'm getting the hell out of here,
Yeah.
and they go somewhere else. And so your best people like that could maybe affect change leave,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and change is bad,
And
right? We're taught that change is bad.
right. Because again, this is quote, "Well, it ain't the best, but it's ours, and it can't get any better, and who are you to try to change it? Because like,
Yeah.
you use a word like appalled, so you're uppity."
Yeah.
Like,
Somebody keeps
"Oh, you think"
mentioning the whites of West Virginia. Have you ever seen that? That
"Oh, yeah.
I've seen that probably like
Yeah,
10
old
times.
Jeffco. Yeah,
It's a
old
great movie.
Jeffco. Yeah."
It's a great
Like,
movie.
where he's just casually talking about beating his wife for sloppy eggs. It's just like,
Yeah.
good lord.
It's a great movie, but yeah, it is one of those where you're just like, "Oh, okay. Alright, this exists. Okay." It is
There's
funny because,
there's
like, everybody grows up in their own little vacuum depending on what part of the country that they're in. Like, I didn't grow up wealthy. I grew up just in Western Washington State, small town, red like, very blue collar. But like you are, you're in a tiny little vacuum. You read about things, but you just don't really conceptually know that they exist around the world.
Yeah, I is my life was really interesting because I was born in Victoria, Texas, but my dad was a federal employee, and so was my mother at times. And then we moved to Point Barrow, Alaska, where he managed the weather
Oh,
station there,
wow.
and then so we lived up there above the Arctic Circle when I was like 2. I don't remember it, but
Right.
and then we moved to Washington D.C., where he was direct for labor force management. Then he went out to be the number 2 man in the Pacific region, so we lived in Hawaii.
Wow.
Then we moved back to Texas, and then he wanted to retire, so he moved to East Tennessee, and I got to live there for a good chunk of my life. And when I finally left, I worked in aviation. I worked in DCA, Philly, Detroit, LA.
Mhm.
Now I'm
So
here.
you've seen everything.
I'm like Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man.
Yes, yes.
Like,
That's great.
and now I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, man, I've been in Colorado for
Get
5,
the
going on
itch.
6. I am,
Mhm.
you know,
We
like
we've done that a
I,
little bit. We've moved around and just yep, it's that itch.
I want to go to the Pacific Northwest. That's where I'm looking at going.
It's beautiful.
I just went to and saw Portland. I've been to Seattle, and it's just I love it. It's like the part of the Scotch Irish in
Mhm.
me, all that green, and
Yeah,
you know, I walk outside and it's gray and kind of rainy, and
it's
I'm like,
beautiful.
ah,
Yeah,
it
if
is.
you
It's
go up
gorgeous.
to the Olympic Peninsula is a little rainier, but that's where I grew up. That area is gorgeous and it's close enough to Seattle to get there, but you're just not on the I-5 corridor. Or if you go up to like Bellingham, but once you cross the mountains, then you hit like it's like completely different land. Like it's arid and it's the politics change immediately. Like it's very interesting. This is like that mountain range. Once you cross, it's like a completely different state.
I just if I move up there, I'm gonna end up in like a log cabin out there, and some
Yeah.
general's gonna say, "We need you for one last mission, Fred." And I'm like, "I told you I'm retired."
They still have cabins out there, you can do it. It's a little cold and damp, you will probably mold.
That's fine. I love cold and damp.
Yeah,
Like it's like that is actually like my favorite kind of weather is
yeah.
cold and damp. You know,
Well, then I'm glad, then you should go. It's funny because you grow out of it. I was raised there, right? I was raised in
right?
that weather, we never had recess, canceled for weather, like, that was very rare. Um, but then when you move away and you come back, you're like, "Oh, it is kind of a bummer to be gray and rainy and drizzly all the time." So,
I love it. I I
you know
I I I remember I got so depressed when I first moved to Los Angeles because
Mhm.
it was like the 11th day there, and it's just bright and sunny with no clouds, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Does it
Ouch.
ever change? I
No.
hate this. I
Yeah.
hate this."
Well, and it's funny
Like,
because like,
oh,
the rain shadow is really funny on the Olympic Peninsula because 'cause you'll have Squim. Squim gets 15 inches of rain a year. You go 15 miles west to Port Angeles. Port Angeles gets, like, 40, and then you go out to Forks, and Forks gets, like, 180 inches of rain a year, like, the most in the entire US, and it's just, like, these are, like, 50 miles apart, these 3 towns, but it's the rain shadow of the Olympics, like, it just dumps on
yeah.
Forks, so I don't recommend Forks. I mean, Forks is a lot. It's also not that I mean, I get that Twilight was there, but, like, it's ugh, I used to hate it when I was a kid. It was just like, ugh.
I can't. I remember the first time it rained in Los Angeles after like 4 months I was there. I went and sat out on the street in
Aw,
the rain, and
yeah,
I was like, I had my coffee in the morning rain, and I'm just like sitting
that's
there looking
nice.
at the gray
That is
sky.
nice. Yeah, I feel like you could write a lot of books in a rainy place. Like, I just feel like it's, like, a good weather for an author because you're just like, "I'm gonna put on some fuzzy socks now, and I'm gonna open the window and stare out and muse about things and then write a book."
That's
Like, you
it.
can't do that when it's hot and people are doing yard work, like, you need, like, that
Yeah.
kinda, like, crummy weather, you're like, "Ah," like, Montana was great for that because they got 7 months of snow, so you're like, "I will write 2 books this year."
That's the other thing too is like I damp and rainy. Like I
Mhm.
can't do cold. I don't like snow. Like I like it for like 2 days and then I'm like, all right, enough
Yeah.
of this. Like get out of here. But or super sunny. Like
Mhm.
if it's super sunny, it has to be on a beach. I have to have it
Yeah.
like it's tropical. Like that's
Okay. the
fine.
the beaches, if you do move to the Northwest,
No, I
bring
know.
a
Right.
bring an umbrella and, like, some of those hot packs for your hands. Like, they're cold and
See, that's
they're
the
wet.
thing. I'm so bougie when it comes to that after growing up in Hawaii. I'm like that Ryan Gosling meme gif where I'm like, no, that's not a beach. I don't know what
No,
that
and it's
is.
and the sand is not soft, it's, like, rocky. It's a
Right. I'm like,
different kind of
no,
beach, yeah.
no,
But
no.
it's still
It's
cool, it's
like
still beautiful, you can go watch the
it is.
whales, and you can go, be cold.
It is. And that's I mean, that's what I'm looking to do. I think at some point it's like it's either that or I'm moving to a Scandinavian country on the coast. Like it's one or the other. Like
Yeah,
I love Colorado, but it's arid and dry and it's high
landlocked.
altitude. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's I'm getting that itch where I'm just like, God, I've been here 6 years. I feel like it's a whole lifetime. I gotta go. It's like, I
mhm. Do
you
it,
know,
do it. Go as many
you
places
know,
as you can, right? We only have so much
yeah,
room.
I might end up buying like a camper or doing like that van life thing, you know? It's
Nice.
like, yeah, I might do
Get a
that.
little YouTube.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't work,
This is
I'm not
sad. I'm checking in. I'm in Missouri. Look at my
I
breakfast. It's granola. I made it myself.
I'm not I'm not cute enough to do a van life,
Oh,
and
don't cut yourself short.
I'm see, listen, I don't think anybody wants to see me in Lululemon pants and flannel in the early morning hours in a nice.
I would like I would like to see that. It's
Yeah,
like
but for all the wrong reasons, Ellie. That's the
Okay. All right. Fair.
no, but see, this is the kind of thing you have to do is like you talk a little bit about your work with Epstein, and it's like then you
I
veer
know.
off in
I have to like
madness.
because I feel like I've done a lot of lives lately, which I don't think intuitively is my love or my skill necessarily, but I the important thing I've done with them is like I need to have a certain handful of them a week that are just like conversations. They're not
Yes.
question answer question answer question answer like I talk with like Walter Ryan like and he and I just talk books and we call it like a mental health breakdown like we look forward to it. It's a conversation that's just about stuff and who knows and what will we talk about. But it's like I need those little spots during the week to just like relax. So
See,
I
I'm
like
that
it.
guy. Like I try to do like the more professional interviews with certain folks, and it's like you're getting up there to where it's like, all right, I got to actually like have the nice
Bring me.
questions.
I
Yeah, and
know.
then we can veer off into like the Frederic
Yeah.
realm where it's like, so do you like hot dogs and
Yeah,
mac and cheese?
I like when you just surprise people, like, if you get a nice big audience and then you surprise people by talking about nonsense the whole time and they're just like, "What am I watching?" Like, I was on with, so there's a podcast called The Grounded Podcast, and it was John Tester, who's a former senator from Montana, and then
Nice.
Maritza Giorgio, and I was like, Marisa, this could go off the rails. We could just like do like inside jokes about Montana and like Montana stuff. And like we talked about poisoning gophers. Like that was the opening conversation. And I was like,
Oh my God.
I don't think anybody's gonna get what we're talking about, but I really want to have this conversation. And so it's just like, well, whatever. They can always check in for the next one. The next one will be professional.
Did I ever tell you when I got unmanned in Missoula, Montana in a saloon? Like, did I
No.
mention that? So
Can you name the saloon? Because I probably know it.
it's all I know is it's a legit saloon. Like it's green and they got like the bison head in
Was
it.
it on the main street? Like
Yeah.
downtown? Yeah, my parents
Yeah.
used to study there when they were in college. That was there.
Oh my
I
God.
forget what it's.
So
Keep talking. I'll look
I,
it up.
I went there. I was with an ex-girlfriend because she had lived in Missoula. She was like a land surveyor and all this stuff. We're
Mm,
in aviation. So we flew into Spokane and did the drive over.
yeah.
And so she thought she'd be slick because in Montana, you can get permanent tags for like so much. And she says, well, I'm just going to
Yes.
have permanent tags in Tennessee until the guys at the airport basically told her, like, no, you live in Tennessee. You need to get Tennessee tags.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, we go over there and, we'd been camping and, drinking. And, I'd been doing some hair of the dog on this trip. Right. I've been
Sure.
having, some morning cocktails. Right.
Right.
So I get in this place, and again, I'm used to flying. I'm used to being in aviation. So, he gets in there and he says, it's this real like guy who's got a beard longer than me. He's
Mm.
got the dirty
Oh yeah.
apron on.
Oh yeah.
He's serving, got the bowler hat. And he comes up and he says, well, what can I get started for y'all? And I said, okay. I said, well, I'd like a coffee and a mimosa. And he, without skipping a beat, goes, "Sir, we don't serve champagne." Like, just chided me
Like bring
for it,
your
right?
growler. Bring it. You know what a growler is? Like they serve growlers. Like everybody like brings their growler, which is like this big homemade container, and then they are just like, please fill it up.
Well, and because he did that, right, and, I felt unmanned, I said so I
Champagne.
straightened my
You
back
went
up
to
a
a
little.
saloon in Montana and asked for champagne. That's funny.
I did. And as I so I straightened my back up, I said, "Well, then, I'll just take a whiskey then." Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, "Well,
Yeah.
how would you like?" I'll take it, just straight." I didn't wanna
Neat.
say
Just neat.
neat.
You don't want to say neat. Didn't want to like mess it up. Yeah, there. I don't remember which one it was, but I know. I'm pretty sure I know where you were because my parents would like study there in their 20s when they were in college. But yeah, it's like Missoula is great because it's a hipster. They call it a lumbersexual. Like it's hipster. It's big beards, lots of beard wax. Like when you go to the farmers market, you've got the beard wax booth, and like the guy
Which
with
is
like
why I thought they'd have mimosas, you know,
no. Like if
and so
they have their growler.
my buddy's like, "How was, Montana?" I said, "Well, I got unmanned in Missoula."
Yeah, yeah. Not a lot of mimosas. That's the wrong end of town for a mimosa. There's places
Yeah,
you can go.
I thought, "What's the hipsters, man? They're gonna have, like, I wasn't trying to drink heavy in the morning, and I
You
didn't
gotta
want
go
a
to the
beer."
hip strip. The hip strip is, like, a little bit up the street from there, and the hip strip will have where you can get, like, poached eggs in a mimosa, like, that's where you would go, but, like, that main street and go to the saloon, you're not gonna get a mimosa.
No, like, I was like, "Look, I want your lumberjack breakfast, but with a mimosa. Can't I be multicultural? Can't I?"
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
it's like,
Nope.
no. So
You
I
should
had
go
to
back
have it
though.
with
It's
whiskey.
really fun. Like Missoula is a great town because it's very blue in the middle of a red state, and and that goes
Right.
with the territory of having a university. But like, they had one of the most impressive pride parades last summer that I've ever seen. Like, it went on for like an hour and a half. They just kept coming, and I was like, "This is like their Christmas parade is like 15 minutes long, but this pride parade went on for an hour and a half." And I was like, "That was impressively huge." And all the businesses in town participated. Like everybody participated. Missoula made their they legally made the county flag or the town flag the pride flag because they Trump had made some kind of a law that said that you couldn't fly the pride flag in Montana unless something was like a legal state flag or whatever. So they made like they made it their county flag or whatever so that they could fly it wherever they wanted. Like they're a great town. Like I won't call them a city because for Montana, they're a city, but nowhere else they would be a city. But it's a fantastic town. I highly recommend it to everybody who's driving through.
You know what? I'm at the risk of offending a lot of people, and I will say this, honest take on Montana and Wyoming.
Mhm.
I thought their steak would be better, you know?
I mean, it's just right there. It's like you can grab it out the window and then cook it.
I did. I was expecting Texas, like,
Yeah,
level quality of
it
beef.
can be, but I think it doesn't have to be everywhere that is great. Like, there are places you can go that's it's not that good, no. It can be.
Yeah, I literally thought I'd be walking into, like, you know, "Sir, we got a table for you, and here's a T-bone." I was like, "Oh, I don't want it, this is complimentary T-bone, sir." I was
It's
like, "Oh,
complimentary
okay."
T-bone.
Yeah. I
No,
literally
like,
like, that was
my
my
husband
impression.
my husband was a butcher for a long time. And, without the hairy details of it, but, like, you eat a lot of, like, bison, like,
Yeah.
and so we had a bison herd that was right down the street from our house, which was wild, very different from where I live now, because now we live by the Bada Bing, we drive by the Bada Bing on the way to baseball practice, but, like, we had this bison herd, and I remember thinking, like, "These bison are huge, they must produce so much meat," and he's like, "Nope, they are all skin and bones." Like, they're big, but their bone structure is big, they have no meat on them, like, it's very, very, very little. Um, but yeah, that you can get a bison burger. You can go during hunting season, you can go to Arby's and get elk tacos. Like, you can go get all this meat all over town because it's, like, hunting season, they have access to it all of a sudden, so you can go get, like, a venison burger at McDonald's or, like I don't know why they're serving it, but they have it.
See, that would be dope. Like, that,
Yeah.
I would be all about, because I do love me some elk tacos. I love me some, like,
My we
like,
didn't appreciate it because, like, that's all we had was venison all the time, which was great. I mean, it's really healthy, but we just didn't appreciate it, and I know a lot of people would really like it, but, like, we're just like, "Meh, venison, whatever."
no, I mean, that's the kinda Tennessee that you missed, where it's like, I had a professor who was like a earth sciences professor, and, one day after class, he announced, he says, "Hey, everybody, I'm selling, venison sausage if you want some. It's this much." He's like, "Bring your money tomorrow," and
That's
it's like,
amazing.
yep, and so it's like he'd take orders, and it's like he'd bring the cooler, and it's
Yep,
like,
bring
"Oh,
the
here you
cooler,
go."
that's right.
Yeah,
Lots of
and so
people selling things out of coolers.
yep, because it was just like, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
went on a hunting trip, and I got
Uh-huh.
this much venison, and
Yeah.
I can't eat it all
Well,
myself.
it's
Who
like
wants it?"
here's my stance on hunting because 'cause I'm not a big pro-gun person, but, like, if you live in an area that has hunting and you choose to not be a vegetarian, like, it's a very sustainable way of living because you're not contributing to, like, stockyards, you're not contributing to, like, mass production of, you know, meat and these really, like, horrible ways of living for animals. Like, it's free range and you get the one animal that you need for the whole year to feed your family. So it's very sustainable, it's very healthy. I don't love it. It's awful. Like, the
Mhm.
process is horrible, but also, like, if you're gonna choose to eat meat, you gotta know how that happens. Like, that is
Right.
important. Like, it's not like you just get it off a grocery shelf. It's violent and it's awful. But if you're gonna choose to eat meat, you need to know that. And so I've I've gone a couple of times and I hate it. But then that feeds our family for the entire year. And so it's incredibly sustainable and we no longer, like, have to contribute to, like, the stockyards and everything. Plus, for if you live in a state where they have hunting and you get a hunting license, it's like $35, and then you have food for your family for the year. So it's like it's a really incredible deal. But it's rough. It's rough. I don't love it.
That's kinda one of the things that I still find interesting. There are some channels and people that do it in
Mhm.
East Tennessee is, they still homestead, they still
Yeah.
do, you can still get, like, if you know where to go, like, especially with when the, farmers markets, like, legit ones, you can get, salt bacon, and that's been cured for, like, a
Mhm.
year, you
Yep.
know, and it's really good. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kinda scary because it's like they hand you basically a big lump of, bacon.
Uncut meat. Yeah.
Right, yeah, uncut meat that's been
Yep.
wrapped, and it's like, it's not refrigerated, it's been cured,
Yep.
so,
You
it's
know
just
what,
salt
though?
then.
During COVID, places like that did well because, um, we had access to a lot of food because everybody had some kind of food that they grew or they raised or they sourced. And so when you couldn't go to grocery stores or you couldn't, like, people were old and in their homes and couldn't get out, and they were struggling to, like, be fed and have the right things that they needed during lockdowns, like, it was this great, like, sourced community between all these farmers who were just like, "I have eggs, I made bread, I have chickens, who needs meat?" And so that's really cool when you live in those areas because they will work together. They'll trade food rather than they don't make you buy it. They just trade for things or services or like someone's like, I could put in a window in your house and they're great. Like here's
Yeah.
12 steaks. So that kind of thing is very, very cool. And I miss that about living in a really rural area. But I now have Starbucks 24 hours a day, which is horrible. Not that I'm doing that. I'm just saying it's available.
Listen, honestly, I think that's the one thing. I've lived in both the city, I've lived in
Mhm,
rural. And what I kind of take more of like an Anthony Bourdain kind of approach to it,
mhm,
where I appreciate each sort of culture and how they
mhm.
go about certain things, and there's just there's good and bad in everything, you
Yeah,
know. Um, like the thing about New York City or a big city, you can probably get whatever you're looking for
right,
at any time, and that's kind of cool. But then you start to realize, like, I don't need everything I want at any time I want it.
right.
I can wait a little bit,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then
the
there are
convenience teaches you to need the convenience.
right where you're
Yeah,
just like, it's like, oh, I don't really need that, so
yeah, yeah,
I don't need to be there. But I think I like being in the culture. I like the little like I kind of like the bodega culture. I like
yeah,
the
yeah,
you know
yeah, for sure.
and
There's much more diverse, and that was a big reason why we moved. We went for work, but, like, our kids actually got to see and live in a place that was very diverse. Their friends are more diverse. Like, there are more religions, there are more holidays that people celebrate, there is different food, I was telling somebody like my two little boys share the same best friend from school and he's from Egypt. And so they have little theological conversations with him over their iPad about the existence of Santa Claus, right? Because he doesn't celebrate Christmas and they do. Like it's just so many really interesting things. They talk about languages, their teachers are from I think they she had a teacher. Their bus stop lady is from Peru, and then there's somebody else is from Venezuela, and somebody else is from El Salvador. Like, it's been really good for them to just normalize people from being like all over the world and being a community of diversity versus like you're a visitor, right? That concept of you're a
right,
visitor. Because they don't think like that. They're just like they came home from school and they're like, "Mom, we gotta learn Spanish now because all my friends talk to each other and I need to know how to." I was like, "Fine, let's do it. Let's do it. That's a great idea. Let's go speak Spanish." So I just think that's cool because that is something had we stayed in Montana, they wouldn't have had access to. And, there are a lot of benefits about Montana, but that was something that they missed was, even when we talk about this idea of the immigration enforcement and ICE and all the horrible things that are going on, that's conceptual when you live in Montana
yeah,
because you're not seeing it, right? You're not seeing
right,
how that damages your community. And I think that's really important to see up close and personal and be uncomfortable about it so that you know how to react to it. And so, you know, that's something we think about. Like my kids know what to do if an ICE officer comes in their classroom. They know what rights they have. They know how they get to react. They know they get to stand up and go make a phone call. Like that's their right. And that's a
right.
conversation we never would have had living in Montana.
No, it's fact. Like I got that multicultural experience when I worked at DCA,
Mhm.
because the people, folks that work in that industry, you've got a lot of black folks from Nova, Northern Virginia, Maryland, and then you've got other folks, black folks, Hispanics, like Latinos from all over the world. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I had my first Ethiopian meal in
Mm.
a break area in the bag room at DCA,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
there were Ethiopian coworkers and they laid it out and they're
Hmm.
getting ready to eat. And I'm looking at it and they're like, "Oh, hey, do you want to have some?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't want to take your food." They're like, "No, no, 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 come on." And
That's
like
great.
and they're explaining it to me and how communal it is. And then, as soon
Hmm.
as I had some, I hit my buddy up. I was like, "Dude, we got to go get Ethiopian food. This is
Right.
amazing."
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
and I learned about Entrians, and one guy I worked with he was a veteran of the war that they had between Ethiopia and Tria, and I mean, just I met folks from Africa, like all the cultural that you just touched through, and that's the fascinating
Right.
thing is like you can walk through DCA and you will hear a different language being spoken,
Yep.
like almost every time you take a step,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And it blew me away where it's like you have access to all this culture and all these folks,
Mhm.
and for a lot of people, their initial reaction is like, well, "I don't want any of that. We got to get rid of them."
Which is wild. Which is wild. Like, we didn't we I think people were taught to think that because people didn't think
Yeah,
that before. Like, the idea of listening to, like, world music and, like, world radio and, like, the things that we used to do that was just, like, standard, people are being told that that's bad now, and they go, "Okay, that's bad." Like,
yeah,
when you walk when I bring my parents to New York City and they step off the plane and they step into New York City and every person we had people, like a whole family of like Scottish people sitting across from us on the subway, and it was the wildest conversation and I loved it. And then somebody speaking French and somebody speaking something else. Um, and my dad was like, that is insane. It is insane how many languages we've just heard in like one train ride. And
mhm,
it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's something that you just take for granted, when you don't live
yeah,
somewhere that, has that kind of diversity. And there's other forms of diversity. We learned a lot more about Native American culture when we lived in Montana because that was, obviously more emphasized. And so that's something that we still have to be very active about teaching our kids in an area where they don't teach it as much.
yeah.
But, it is very cool to live somewhere where especially there's one day of school where everybody dresses in their culture, and my poor kids have, like, a Montana Roots t-shirt on. Like, that's all we have. But, like, just the everybody gets homemade shirts where it's, like, because their dad and mom are from 2 different countries, and they're just, like, they know so much about their culture and their language, and it's so
Wow,
cool to just see how many places around the world are just, like, at our bus stop, right? Before school in the morning. It's very
that is kind of cool. Like, wow,
Mhm.
that's kind of dope,
Yeah,
actually.
it's very cool. I
Very
had better
nice.
hop off because I have to charge my phone because I have to do another interview.
Well, you do another interview. Thank you for taking the time to be here today, man. Always appreciate it, Ellie.
I
And
appreciate it too. We should do these more.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right,
Bye,
Ellie.
guys.
Everybody who tuned in, have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.